Hello, hello, welcome. Hope everyone is doing amazing. And before we dive in, I just want to let you know I appreciate all of you, the newcomers, the ones that have been around right from the get-go. We've only been around for what, maybe 6 months or so. So we're still a new group. And again, just really appreciate you guys I don't take it lightly when people say yes to, showing up to the lives or taking the time to comment or sending me a message or taking my programs or whatever it might be. I just want to say I'm uber grateful. So thank you, thank you. So we're going to dive right in. If you know me, I'm not all about any of the fluffy stuff. I like to get right down to it. So our topic today is unveil the story that does not serve you any longer. And that's usually our blind spot. So we're going to look at our story that we tell ourselves and see it for what it really is. So this is an ongoing conversation, ongoing conversation. I've done it. I still continue to do it. I catch myself. My clients do it. My friends do it. My families do it. We all do it. But when it's us, it's ourselves, sometimes we don't see it very clearly. We can see other people's story. I can see your story, you can see his story, sure, her story, but often we don't see our own story, and it's our blind spot. If you are just tuning in, let me know you're here, say hello, and even the replays, please let me know you're tuning in. I always come back and listen to not listen to your comments, read your comments. So let me know you're here. Always give me feedback. It really helps me support you further. So again, the topic is unveiling the stories that no longer serve us and seeing them for what they really are, because they're not serving us any good if we don't actually see them as what they are. We're just continue to have them in our lives as blind spots. Okay, again, these are ongoing conversations. I see it all the time. And even when I have the conversation, we unveil it, quite often it goes right back to being a blind spot. So this is huge. So if you don't already, get your pen and paper. Pen and paper. I'm going to be going through a little exercise with you. So when I talk about stories, this isn't just like a one-time story. This isn't like, oh, I went to the store and this happened. I'm talking about stories as in patterns that aren't in our highest good. And if you know me, I'm not about being a negative Nelly or a Debbie Downer, but sometimes we got to look at that stuff to transform it. So we're going to look at those stories as in patterns that we have. We all have patterns, and usually our patterns are our blind spot. It's the tape we continually play over and over in our subconscious, and then we bring it to the surface. We go, right? So you may know it's there a little bit subtly or not at all, or maybe you keep stuffing it, bring it back up, but we're going to bring it into out of the blind spot into the light. So often our stories, our patterns, we can look at our reality, right? We can look outside in our environment and they can give us a good sign. So pen to paper right now, get out your pen to paper and ask yourself, what is my story? Just deal with one at a time right now. What is my story? So I just want to get the juices flowing. You might be kind of like, what are you talking about? Or you might be, yep, I know exactly what that is. So it could be around, if you are a business owner, you have your own career, it could be around that area. It could be around money. It could be around your health. It could be a lot around relationships. That's where I find it the most common. So just some examples again to get the juices flowing when you're doing pen to paper here. What is your story? Maybe it's things like money's really hard. I never have any money. Like, what are the things if you bring them to the surface, what are the stories you tell yourself? I seem to always be left out, or I'm always the one that gets the short end of the stick, or my business isn't where I want it to be. What's the story you tell over and over? Maybe your business isn't where you want it to be. Maybe it's hard to grow my business. I got to do everything by myself. I never get the good jobs, right? What's the story you tell yourself? And if you want to share them, it helps each other. Put them in the comment. Relationships, like I said, are a really common one, right? I have such toxic people in my life. I have such toxic people. I'm so tired of him or her or them or that. I'm so tired of that conversation. I'm so tired of that person, right? What's the story you tell yourself around relationships? And yeah, absolutely share in the comments if you want. One that I really see often with, and I was kind of surprised by this, is the idea that often we, again, this is a common pattern, common story, that we don't want to outshine other people, or we might feel like we need to shrink. If we start growing, we won't share that celebration of ourselves. We'll hide that part of ourselves. We shrink. Maybe it's around relationships in terms of it's hard to attract a decent partner. Like, what is the story you tell yourself? I just bumped up against one not that recently, or not that long ago, quite recently. And I'm like, huh. And I was seeing it. I wasn't looking at it for what it was. And it kept playing out, kept playing out. And then I went, wait a minute. I know this stuff. And I had to call myself out. I had to call myself out. So this is the first step. You can't change anything unless you're aware of it. Call yourself out with love. Call yourself out. What is that story? Because you can't change it unless you see it, right? Make that blind spot not so blind. There never seems to be enough time in the day. Oh, Doreen, that's so me. I get it. Yeah, I get that. It's interesting because I feel like I'm abundant in a lot of areas of my life. And then when it comes to time, I don't feel as abundant. So I call myself out on that. That's a biggie. Not enough time in a day. So look at the patterns that you have that aren't serving you. Look at the patterns you have that aren't serving you. And you might not even know how it's not serving you, but we're going to dive in. But let's see it for what it really is. So here's how you transform that. And some might be way more personal, like the one you shared, Doreen. It may or may not be that personal. It might just be like, yeah, it's a thing that I just keep, telling myself. But it could be something really, really more near and dear and more emotional to you. So no right or wrong, just be aware what is the story you tell yourself over and over. And as you dig deep, you might find a few more, but again, it's how you transform. So here's a great question. You know your story now, you know that pattern, you know the thing you keep telling yourself. The question is how does that serve you? Again, pen to paper, write that down. How does this pattern or how does this story serve me? Now, your conscious mind is going to go, well, it doesn't, Janine. Like, duh, it doesn't serve me. That's a silly question. That's what the conscious mind is saying. The conscious mind is saying it doesn't serve me. Silly question. However, it's the subconscious mind that's running the show. The subconscious mind keeps the pattern going. The subconscious mind keeps the stories going. So the answer that you're going to get, I'm not going to tell you the exact answer, but typically the flavor, the area that you're going to get, it's going to be in the ballpark of it keeps me small, it keeps me comfortable, it keeps me in the same place. I don't need to grow, I get to stay put. It's that sort of flavor, right? So let's do an example together then. So you've got your story, you've got your pattern, and let's say it's, I know a lot of you in this group have a lot of businesses or your career. Let's just say career business, but I can't seem to grow my business or my career or advance in my career. I'm not where I want to be, okay? Maybe that's the pattern, the story you tell yourself. So how does that serve you? Again, your conscious mind is gonna say, well, it doesn't, but it does. You get to stay safe. You get to stay small. You get to stay in your comfort zone. You don't need to grow. You might not need to look at anything. It's easy to stay in that place. Not saying it's comfortable. You don't bump up, but it just gets you to stay safe in the same spot, living on autopilot, right? Defaulting the same old, same old. So now we want to turn that around, right? How could it really serve you? Right? From your highest good. What's the turnaround? Let's call that a turnaround. What's the turnaround? Well, maybe the universe is showing you that you need to be more visible. Maybe you need to show the world who you really are. Maybe you need to step into more of your power, maybe more of who you really are. Maybe you have to show the world, I know this sounds kind of grandiose and kind of probably might freak you out, but baby steps, right? Maybe it's stepping more into who you are and what you have to offer the world. Really owning that, right? So rather than staying in, oh, my job, my career, my business, oh, it's not quite where I want, and you just stay in that same pattern, you tell it for a week, a month, a year, 10 years, a decade, a couple decades. Like so many people stay in their stories forever and ever. I've got a couple of friends, and I swear to God, they're telling the same story they told me 10 years ago. It's like, let's move from this story, right? So hopefully that gives you an idea. Maybe we could do another example together. I know money is a big one for people, and it doesn't matter where you're at, right? You could be a multiple seven figure, and it could be the next level. But let's just take the base level right now, because I know that's something a lot of people can relate to, is like, I never have enough money, or, and that could be like to do that next thing. Or it could be like, I just got no money in my bank account, right? So how does that serve you? Again, your conscious mind is going to go, well, it doesn't. It doesn't. But the part of you that it does, the ego, the subconscious that's running the show, it allows you to, again, stay comfortable, stay put. You don't need to grow. You don't need to look at where you don't value yourself. You don't have to look at where you don't feel worthy, right? I'm just going to stay put. My bank account might not be where I want it to be, but I'd rather that than have to look at my unworthiness, right? So a good turnaround would be, the universe is asking me to own my worth. The universe is asking me to own my value, to show up more as the real worthy, deserving, abundant me, right? That would be a really great turnaround. Let me know if this is helpful, if you're getting some insights from this. So, you identify that story. How does it serve me? And then what is the turnaround? Again, see the story for what it really is, right? Stop buying into that story. See it for what it is. The story's there to show you the way. It's ready. It's showing you it's pointing you in the right direction. So let's stop. I'm saying this with tons of love. Stop looking at it for what it is not, right? Oh, well, my business isn't growing. Oh, I'm not quite where I'm at. Like, look at it for what it really is. It's the gateway to the real you. That's a writer downer. It's the gateway. Your story that you're buying into, if you can turn that around, it's the gateway to the real you, right? The story is there to set you straight. And you have to be really careful that you don't argue for your limitations. I see this all the time, right? Yeah, but you don't understand, Janine, right? Well, I do. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. So we got to stop buying into that, our stories. I say that with so much love. It's so easy to say, but we have to stop buying into our stories. We have to stop the same pattern over and over and over. It keeps us in the same routine, living on autopilot, right? So actually it reminds me of, have you seen that Bob Newhart video? Google it, Bob Newhart, Stop It. And I'm not going to go into it. I don't want to ruin it if you watch it, but basically it was like back at least 10 years ago, and it was circulating around a while back at a lot of like personal development conferences, that sort of thing. And it was all around, he's a psychologist, and this woman walks in and she says, yeah, I've got this issue. And she sits down and she had a fear of being buried in a box, fear of being buried alive in a box. Funny, not funny. And so she goes into a little more detail. He goes, okay, well, I've got some advice for you. And she goes, okay, well, should I write it down? And he goes, no, it's just 2 words. You should probably be able to get it. She goes, okay, well, what is it? And he leans over and he screams at her, stop it. And she's like, what? Pardon me, what? He goes, stop it. And she says, well, but you don't understand. Like, no, we don't go there. We don't go there. Just stop it. Anyways, just watch it. It's hilarious. It's only like, I don't know, 5 minutes or so. Bob Newhart, Stop It. And but it is true. Like, we just hang on to our stories, our patterns, and we want to keep them alive, and we don't really transform them sometimes. And then when we do acknowledge them, we want to argue for the limitations, and we want to hang on to them, right, as our truth. But it's a fantastic, I guess, a parody of what we do, right? Human nature. So Bob Newhart, I'll put it in a link, or I'll post it in the group, but it's quite funny. Anyway, so hopefully this was helpful. Have that courage to look at your story, look at your pattern, take the blinders off, see it for what it really is. Call yourself out with love. Call yourself out with love and ask, how does this serve me? And how can I turn this around? And of course, just like you would do with your hair, rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. So I hope this was helpful. Again, it's only as helpful as what you put into practice. So put it into practice. And until next time, love you guys. Bye-bye.